Thank you so much.
This is the Kool Kitchen, and I'm with Jason Molina from Magnolia Electric Company. Greetings.
Howdy.
Thank you for joining us today. First of all, let's ask about the name Magnolia Electric Company. Before, you guys were
Songs Ohio.
Songs Ohio. There you go.
Yeah, we were on a label, but we weren't really for hire. I don't know. Ohia is it's a native Hawaiian tree, and back in the old days, I would make recordings, and instead of titling the record, with a sort of creative title, it would just be something to remind me of what exactly it was. And since those were songs that I had done on a ukulele, I picked a Hawaiian reference, and that's where that name came from. And also, living in Ohio, the way that we pronounce Ohio, the state, is Ohio.
Ohio.
So I thought that it was a neat play on, phonetic spelling and something exotic, because being from the Midwest in the U.S. is, Hawaii it might as well be the other end of the world. So the change of name is more or less arbitrary. I realized that I had been working with a collective of musicians for so long. I wanted a more business-like, not necessarily business-like, but sort of a name that reminded you of like a plumber. Like when you have something wrong with your sink and your toilet, there's only one group of people you call. You don't call in, an electrician to fix your toilet. And so this is just something I just came up with, and I came up with it while I was recording the first Magnolia Electric Company record. That's the one with the owl on it. That's that owl that's crying on it. And I just knew it wasn't a Songs Ohio record. I just could feel it, and I still have the tapes where even Steve Albini, who was recording the record, wrote "Not Songs Ohio" on the box.
You knew too.
Yeah.
I think it's because you changed. Just explained to me that maybe you went electric, and that's why the electric company came in.
Not so much. That's a falsity. We were basically able to afford going into a nice professional studio. Before then, it had been basements, 4 tracks, 8 track if you were getting like really out there. It was we always would record wherever we had the opportunity to record, and I've always got a lot of songs on hand, but I like to do recording sessions as a full project. I don't like to just go in and do a song or two. That's very rare for me, and I think that the name change coinciding with the recording style change made people think that we were now changed, but we really weren't. If in 1995 we had been able to go into a studio, we probably would have sounded pretty similar to what we do now. We weren't really working in that kind of environment.
If the Magnolia Electric Company were to be a soundtrack to a film, what would it be?
It would be all black for about 20 minutes, then right in the middle of the screen, about where the horizon would be, it would be gray. Then there would be a bright flash of light, and then back to black.
And that would be it, yeah?
But for about 20 more minutes. There's a lot of controversy about a certain record that came out. As far as I know, about less than a dozen of these records were manufactured. But what they are is a solo record that I did as part of the Sojourner box set.
Yeah.
And there was incorrect artwork on the dial. So basically it's mislabeled. And I don't exactly know how in the hell that happened. Secretly Canadian is a very good label, and they really look after all aspects. But in some part of the process, we'll say, there were some of these records leaked. And I wish I could be the genius that did that on my own, so that those would be super collectible and I'd sell them in goldmine. But as far as I know, those are all gone, pulled, and it wasn't something that we did consciously to make it collectible.
Yeah, that was just a fluke that turned out to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. have any musical directional changes that you think are coming up? Something strange or new in the air?
Well, every project is new, and I when I sit down and write songs, I don't just write one song. I try to write about 8 or a dozen songs, and try to see. Well, after about 3 or 4 songs, I know that maybe I have a family of songs, and I can maybe try to push those ideas that come out of the first handful of songs into a full-length record. And the starting process of that is always very random. It's whenever the last record is done, I start writing the new one. And a lot of times I throw away a couple dozen songs before I even get 3 or 4 that seem connected. I've written every record to be one whole piece. It's not song by song. And it sounds willy-nilly, like I just throw away things that are good. I throw away things that are bad, but I don't put anything on the record that I feel is bad. If I am even the least bit skeptical about any song on a record, the whole record gets thrown away.
Seem to create records that seem to be only available on a tour.
That is part of me wanting to always collaborate with new people. The Magnolia Family is a nice, loose group of working musicians that can tour and really put their heart and soul into it. I mean, as much as I want to say that I have been heart and soul all the time, sometimes it's just just as flat as a tire can be. And it's because of so much of my entire life is wrapped up in this music. That's why I can't explain lyrics, and that's why I don't go into the detail about what a song is about. But I also don't know if I even enjoy performing. I know for an hour or so when I'm up on stage, it's interesting, it's nice, but I'm always thinking of something other than the song. Sometimes I'm thinking of another song or a future song while I'm playing an old song.
So you feel that you're not, sometimes when you're performing, you're not present. Your mind is like either in the past or the future.
For sure, that is definitely part of it. And these tour-only recordings are oftentimes an example of when I really did feel like I had a solid body of music. Maybe I didn't go into a studio and do it with in the standard way, with a big budget behind it and promotion and all of the stuff that goes into making a record. I just have this group of songs that I know that I'm never taking into the studio, and I think that the folks who buy my records really dig that stuff.
You said you like to constantly collaborate with people. That sometimes you have moments where you're not into what you're doing. Do you find that you need a lot? You like hooking up with other people to, it's a real stimulus to your music, to injection.
Certainly, collaborating, it really puts me on my toes because I have to take the role of director, and all I hand you is a handful of chords and maybe a little melody and a little bit of lyrics. And really, that's all I want to do is see what the group of people in the room can do with that. And so if we do it 3 different times, you'll get 3 different songs. You really will. And so, in a way, collaborating with different people all the time and keeping it open and not a traditional band format allows me to really be inspired by someone who really just plays in a way that I wouldn't expect, or they throw me a curveball once in a while, and that's what shows up on the records, and I'm really proud of that.
Do you have any visual influences for your music? Some sort of stuff that you just kind of, or literary influences that you like to incorporate?
No. I read a lot, and I look at stuff, and I think things are beautiful. What I think is what ends up being a sort of a song, or let's say lyrical result of looking at things and being part of the world and as an observer, is me being a little bit self-conscious about not participating. Like, how can I not be part of a falling star? How can I not be part of the sunset over the mountains? That's more what my songs are about.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way of putting it there. Amalgamated Sons of Rest EP with Will Oldham and Alistair Roberts.
Right.
And yeah, how was that working with those two?
The Amalgamated Sons of Rest project was it was a collaboration with Will Oldham and Ali Roberts, people that I had worked with professionally and over the years and had admired their work a lot. And I had the idea to put us together in a room and do one of these collaborations, like I was recently talking about, and but with songwriters rather than a great bass player or a great drummer. And I do remember that they were saying that, well, songwriters can be difficult to work with together, and I know myself better than anyone, and I would be difficult to work with, but how much more of a challenge would it be to get 3 songwriters? And I wasn't looking for a disaster, and I wasn't looking for anything amazing. I was just wanted to document what we could be together, and we ended up doing this record, and it has a very special place in my heart, because often when you ask people to collaborate that are already successful songwriters in the world, or in other places that they might be successful, it just never works. And something always comes up, and there's some reason to delay. This really did happen, and we really finally got together, and we went to Kentucky, and we recorded with Paul, Will's brother, so the first day, it was, I don't think it was so much ice-breaking, it was just, we started working, and then the middle day was September 11th, 2001, and the third day was finishing the record. And honestly, because I believe that a recording is a document of the actual time and place and everything that you can put into it, and I swear to God, even if it's a song that you've been singing for 2,000 years, and you can just look off in the distance and you see something new, you put that into the song. It could just be the littlest trill in your voice. It could be a little pause in the guitar. I believe that all of that really went into those songs on that recording. And I'm really proud to have been part of it.
When you guys got on pretty well, then it wasn't because you're saying you're quite difficult to work with songwriters, but it actually.
For me, it wasn't difficult at all. And you'd have to ask those guys what it was like, because I'm not interested in ever really going back and critiquing anything. If it just sucks, it just sucks. This didn't suck.
Yeah. So that's it. There's no reviews. It's like thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to be in my world.
No, that's all right. That's fine. You don't want to dwell. Once you put it somewhere, that's it.
Well, now, if you bring that up, since I have the forum here, the microforum.
Yeah, microforum.
We've been trying to, we as a band, dig up really old songs, things that are 10, 11 years old, and I haven't heard them since the day we recorded this music. I really haven't. A lot of those songs were actually written in the studio, never played them live, and I don't go back and listen to the records. So it was like listening to the soundtrack to a snapshot of you when you were a little kid, sitting around the fire, camping with your parents or something. And it's not foreign, but it's how would you go back there in that time? Would you dress like yourself when you were 8 years old? Of course you wouldn't, but you still had a style. I think so.
Yeah.
I think that's a really interesting thing, because a lot of our fans have finally caught on to the fact that we're just going to be doing new stuff. We don't want to do the old stuff. I don't want to do the old stuff. I just, after years and years of going to see bands live, I was always so disappointed that they didn't do a single new song. And typically in the type of professional, like high grade concert that I would go to, bands were, had a meticulous set, and they did the songs that everybody wanted to hear, and it was very manicured, and it had its start, and it had its middle, and it had its part where the singer comes out and does this solo thing, and then they have the big rock and roll ending. That is so boring to me. I'd rather just see one good song and then get the hell out of there.
Yeah. What are you listening to now?
I don't listen to a lot of music. I collect 78s, and I don't collect them in sort of like I don't seek out a specific 78, but because 78s are so common, and they're so neglected, but they're so durable. I mean, you can take a record that's 60 years old, that looks beat to shit, and you can actually put that thing on your phonograph and pull out amazing music. And recently, I'll say, yes, I don't keep up with current bands, and I listened to Dylan say that in a sort of off the cuff kind of way, and I don't know if I believe it or not, but I do think that's. It's sad because so much great music has been made in recent years, and being part of independent music, I'm handed armloads of new records, and it takes me forever to get through them all. And I don't hate it all, and I don't love it all. But what happens when you get into 78s is you go and you can spend $5 at a flea market or a junk shop and come out with an armload of records. And I recently. I'm a big World War I history buff, and I'm learning a little bit more about World War II. But anyway, I got an armload of like circa World War I 78s that were all meticulously labeled by the woman who had used them, and then notations about like what dance and where they had played the records. I don't know if this was something she had done after the war. But, I think she was probably a nurse, and it was, I don't know, this could have been just a collection of records that was playing in like an army hospital or something like that. And man, that those records haven't been probably played since she played them. I don't know. But it's so interesting. That's much more the way that I encounter recorded music than just buying a new record. That being said, I will walk into an independent record shop, and I will find the most grumpy, just out of his mind, guy behind the counter, the guy who wants to deal with no one, and I'll say, so what are you listening to? Because I get that question all the time. And if he gives me something and he can give me a description of it, I usually walk out of there with that record, and that's something that I keep in my small little collection. Because, I wake up in the morning and a song is in my head. I don't know what it is, but that's like that whole day is working around, I got to get breakfast out of the way because I have to get this song done. Well, then, the manual, frying of the bacon becomes something that's going to be in that song. I'm thinking of something else besides the bacon. It's just like me on stage just making breakfast.
Why are you interested in World War I, not World War II? What is your attraction to that time period?
Well, I don't know. I already have some friends that know a lot about World War II, and I actually grew up with a lot of vets from World War II who told me a lot of stories about their parents who were in World War I. So I think in some way I'm I'm trying to just do research on people that I know in living memory about a past that I'll never know. I can't say but beyond that.
Do you think that any of that stuff has got into your songs at all, the World War I?
Not specifically, no. Just history in general is really important to me. Like the physical place is the most important. Whether it's just a bunch of rocks and sand and a beach, or a mountain and a tree, that's just as important as the people that are standing in the room with me. I don't take any of it for granted.
And what is your what is your interest in history? Why is that important to you?
I could never say. But since I was a kid, everyone said you were definitely born in the wrong century, whatever that means. And I feel it too. I really do. I can, I like old stuff, and I do like new stuff, and I like to keep my brain active, but I am drawn to, something old, and I just have like a knack for picking out, like a good example is one time someone put out a bunch of woodblock prints, and they said one of these is a fake. I didn't know shit about printing or anything, but I just looked at this one and it just seemed wrong for some reason. And he's like, why do you think that's wrong? And then I went through probably a list of 30 things that I thought was different than the other two.
Yeah.
And I was right, and it wasn't obvious to anybody else. And so I just have, I don't know, just maybe an eye and an ear for stuff that is solid. Man, I hope I can be solid. I don't want to be the fake one that they pick out someday in the future.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank you very much for taking the time out to talk to me. This is a man from a different era. Thank you very much.